Namaste. Ramayana is the central text of Indian culture. It is more popular than the Vedas and Shastras. As it is said in the shloka, Vedavedye pare punsi jate dasharatatmaje Veda prachesadasit sakshat Ramayanatmana. When he, who can be known only by Vedas, came as Rama, Vedas themselves became Ramayana. That is the greatness of the text. They speak the thought of Vedas, but in a more accessible language. Ramayana is not a simple story of palace politics, as many Western thinkers argue. If it was a narrative of a small kingdom somewhere in north of India, why would entire world embrace it so passionately? Ramayana, as many of you know, is not only revered in India, it is part of entire South Asian culture. Many countries like Thailand, Malaysia, Cambodia, Bali and others have made Ramayana their own. The text, which is written originally by the saint poet Valmiki, has seen many interpretations. Many able minds have reimagined the text, but none can compare to the simple yet magnificent imagery created by Valmiki. As it is rightly said, Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam. Valmiki is the nightingale sitting on the tree of poetry and singing the melodious story of Rama. Yes, Ramayana is primarily about Rama. It is also equally about Sita, Hanumanta, and also Ravana. There are many other great characters in the text. There are some wonderful situations also. How great people reacted during crisis situations forms the narrative of the text. But Ramayana is simply not only about characters and scenes. It also has details of many other matters of human interest. A glance at the topics covered by Ramayana itself will be exhaustive. Do you want the details of plants, trees, birds, animals, ponds, rivers, seas, mountains, forest, deserts, islands? It's all there in Ramayana. Are you interested in psychology, sociology, anthropology, political science, philosophy, economics, or any other field? Study Ramayana and your quest for knowledge will be over. Even students of medicine, law, and engineering can learn a lot from this text. It is amazing how an ancient book can contain so much relevant information about diverse areas like this. And all this information does not come in dry manner. It is told in interesting and entertaining way. What more proof one needs to celebrate the genius mind of Valmiki? Vande Prachetasam Akalmasham. By saluting the writer, we will start our journey to understand the details of technology in this text. It is to be noted in the very beginning that the emphasis here should be to enjoy the narrative. Modern rigor of evaluation does not apply here, as Ramayana is primarily kavya, a creative work, and not a scientific journal. Let us see the details in chronological order. The opening parts of Ramayana contains a detailed explanation of the city of Ayodhya. It gives an opportunity to appreciate the amount of detailing done for city planning. Today's architects and urban planners can learn their lessons from these episodes. It also shows the skills in civil works the people of those time had. Ayodhya, as the name suggests, was a city which was impossible to conquer by war. It was a safe capital city situated on the fertile banks of river Sarayu. There is a legend that the quality of sand on either banks of this river is different. It is clear that the land around the capital city of Kosala was fertile thanks to river Sarayu. The architects of the city took pains to develop the city taking into account the natural protection provided by the river. It is said in Ramayana that the city of Ayodhya was 10 yojanas in length and 3 yojanas in width. 1 yojana is roughly 12 kilometers. So, the city of Ayodhya was in the shape of a mat used for the game of dice. It had gardens, playgrounds, performance places, and other public amusement areas in plenty. It is also mentioned that there was neatly laid roads and walkways. The structures of houses are explained in detail. The practice of worshipping the main door of the house and the threshold therein is mentioned in Ramayana. Houses of various types are also discussed. Structure of the palace and the various facilities inside makes one wonder how practical the style was. Just consider the fact that the palace was so big that there was a room to check in when you are angry, as Kaikeyi did. The palace and its luxuries was not limited to members of royalty. In Kausalya's wing of the palace, many teachers and students studying Vedas were housed. Multi-storied buildings were also present in the city of Ayodhya. 7-storied houses called Vimanas were found in plenty. So construction technology was evolved in those times. Ramayana says that the city has Sarva Yantrayudha Bhushitam Sarva Shilpi Bihi. It means there were various kinds of machines and people who could design and maintain them in the city of Ayodhya. The city of Rama and his ancestors was a modern city with eco-friendly and sustainable architecture. Compare this with Lanka, which was a megapolis like our crowded cities. Hanumanta's description of the city tells us that it was full of buildings. No mention of agriculture in Lanka can be found in Ramayana. It looks like the residents of Lanka, like most of us, were far removed from the soil. What can happen to the uncontrolled growth we are doing in cities in the name of development can be seen in the case of Lanka. We will now move to the Ashwamedha episode of Ramayana. We shall not discuss the ritualistic part of the act, which is also interesting. There is also a background story of how Rishvashringa became the main priest of the yaga. Since our talk is focused on technical information available in Ramayana, let's focus on that. The Ashwamedha and the Putrakameshti Yaga are long rituals. The people who are involved in this process are very large. And since the ritual is not normally conducted, people from near and far come in huge numbers to witness it. Looking after every person coming to the yaga is an important part of the process. The preparations for the yaga starts by collecting bricks in thousands for preparing the ritual altar. There are specific logs of different kinds of woods required for the purpose. The masonry and carpentry work demands specialized tools. So, it is imperative that those machines existed in those times. Residential complexes for priests, traders, soldiers, and helpers had to be prepared. Large kitchens and dining halls feeding everyone were built. Totally, the description of the activity during the ritual gives us an idea of how advanced the construction technologies of those times were. The Gangavatarana episode is another interesting case study. This story was repeated in many earlier texts, but it is still relevant for our study. The amount of technical skill required for an event of this scale is huge. It is said that 60,000 sons of King Sagara excavated the earth to find water. This can be considered as 60,000 citizens of the country because king is always considered as the father figure. If seen in this way, we can understand Gangavatarana episode as 60,000 laborers working to dig the land and fetch water. When it didn't work, Bhagirath tried to bring Ganga from heaven. Think of it as building a long canal. Better still, it can be considered as an early attempt about the river diversion project. The river Ganga changed course from west to east and followed Bhagirath. That is why she is called Tripataga, the one who treads three paths. Also, it is better if we read the story of Jahnu Maharshi as an attempt to stop Ganga by building a huge barrier. Then the floodgates were opened to allow the flow of water, and therefore river Ganga is also called Jannavi. So in total, the story of Ganga documents the effort of dam and canal constructions of those times in a very colorful manner. Bharata's travel with his family and countrymen to convince Rama is the next episode worth our study. Here, Bharata instructs a large group of engineers to prepare the path for a long journey. So, not only roads and bridges, but resting places for huge number of people had to be prepared in quick time. Also, various other technicians and artists were members of the party who accompanied Bharata, providing services and entertainment to them. But nothing attracts more public attention to engineering feat in Ramayana than the mention of Pushpaka Vimana and the bridge built by Vanaras. Let us first focus on the flying marvel Pushpaka Vimana. People have long speculated whether it was true that such a machine existed. Well, the text of Ramayana has a detailed description of the external features of the machine. It is described poetically by Hanumanta. The designs in its exterior and the intricate carvings inside the plane is described in a very detailed manner. We also learn that the plane had many features which are difficult to comprehend at present times. For example, the plane was not resting on ground. It was stationary several inches above the ground. Also, the capacity of the machine was not limited. It could carry large number of people. In fact, after the war with Ravana was over, the entire troop of Vanaras and important people of Lanka, along with their wives, joined Rama, Sita and Lakshmana in their way back to Ayodhya. It had the ability to carry such large crowd in a comfortable manner. It is also mentioned that the aircraft would not allow impure persons to come inside. This is repeated in the Ramayana twice. The very mention of technology in Ramayana will bring the name of Ramasetu to everyone's mind. There is a lot of unwanted political interest in this question. But as students of Ramayana, it is better if we focus on the details Valmiki shares with us. In the text, the bridge was built for real. It was not a quick fix arrangement. It was a planned structure. The engineer in charge for this project was a Vanara called Nala. It is written very clearly that experts were monitoring the progress of the bridge using various instruments. The exact length of the bridge completed every day is also documented. According to Valmiki's Ramayana, in the first day, 14 yojanas of bridge was completed. In the second day, 20 yojana was completed. Working with more vigor in the third, fourth and fifth days, the Vanaras completed 21, 22 and 23 yojanas respectively. So totally in 5 days, 100 yojana length bridge was built. As mentioned earlier, 1 yojana is roughly 12 kilometers. So the length of Ramasetu was almost 1200 kilometers and its width was 10 yojanas. One interesting aspect about this bridge is that though Rama was the inspiration behind its construction, he himself did not cross it by foot. He was carried on the able shoulder of Hanumanta. Similarly, Angada carried Lakshmana. But the Vanaras used the bridge merely to cross the mighty ocean. One person who can be real inspiration to engineers in Ramayana is Lakshmana. That tireless worker built houses, boats and other accessories to ensure comfortable stay of Rama and Sita while in forest. It is in the climax fight between Vanaras and Rakshasas that we see the advances in technology of that day in its full glory. Technology being used for destructive act of war was a practice which started during that time and continues till date. In that lengthy explanation of war, we find descriptions of weaponry of various kinds. One can almost sense usage of chemical warfare in Nagapasha episode. Was Brahmastra a nuclear weapon? Is an interesting question to investigate. Semi and fully automatic killing machines are found in plenty. Various kinds of war automobiles resembling today's war tankers, missiles, submarines, you can find them all in Ramayana. So, in summary, there is a lot of direct reference to the practice of technology in Ramayana. But, as discussed in the beginning of the talk, one should not study Ramayana for these things. Ramayana is a kavya and not a textbook of technology. The main purpose of studying kavya is to enjoy the rasa therein. Rasa is not the materialistic pleasure but the sublime pleasure of soul. One's mind should be soaked in the rasa of Ramayana. Let me give you an example. While eating in a restaurant, you may enjoy the ambience, lighting, seats, painting on the walls, and all that. But that should not distract one from savoring the food. One's focus should be on hygiene and taste. Other factors definitely add to the overall impact, but they should not hog the limelight. Similarly, in Ramayana, it is easy to get lost in the mundane details like the ones discussed here. But one should not lose focus on the central theme of the text. The text rightly deserves the name Ramayana, that is the path of Rama. One should study the choices Rama made in critical times and understand why he acted so. Rama's adherence to the path of Dharma is the most crucial lesson of Ramayana. While appreciating and imbibing those qualities of Rama, if we learn some other things like technology, it's a bonus. I hope this talk will encourage people to study the text of Ramayana more seriously and learn the lessons of life from it. Om Apadamabartaram Dadaram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Shriramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.